What's the most fucked up shit you've walked into? Heard a bang in my kitchen and walked in to find that my roommate slipped and cracked his head open. So much ducking blood. He was out cold. He's fine though. A few staples and he was just as dumb as before, so no biggie. I walked into my friend's house just as his teenage sister told her family she was pregnant. I walked in to re-evaluate a patient and the patient was getting a blowjob from girlfriend in the ER. Clearly there is no emergency. You, sir, are discharged. Not me, but my brother told me this. My brother is blind and so is his friend. Let's call him Kenny. Kenny lived with his dad until one day when his dad decided to hang himself in the garage. Kenny found him by bumping into him when trying to find him when he got home from work. Was the most ducked up thing I ever heard. My mother cheating on her boyfriend with her ex-husband. And X200B. Later in life I found out my mother is a serial cheater. Even more odd is that she claims to hate sex. Worked downtown and was on my lunch break. Went to the bathroom before heading back to the office. Walked in on a girl taking a rit in the sink. Before I had arrived she must have it and smeared it all over the mirror. She kind of hissed at me when I walked in. I got the hell out of there and told security. Edit. Thanks for the silver. I feel like Cersei Lannister when she crowned herself. At university I walked in on my housemate having cocaine blown up his ass with a bicycle pump by his girlfriend. They're married now, so there's someone out there for everyone. Walked in on my mom doing lines of coke at my cousin's apt on Christmas Eve. Things got real tense after that. I knew my mom was no saint. But my dad got angry at me for finding out. When I was in college. In Texas. I lived in an apartment style dorm. Had 2 bedrooms on each side that shared a bathroom and a shared living room and kitchen. Me and a friend were walking back from our class that got cancelled and we walked in on my roommate jerking it on the couch in the living room to some old school VHS porno on the TV. It gets better. He had his cowboy hat on, cowboy boots on and had his leg hiked up in the air and was grabbing his dick from under his thigh, like reaching back to front and jerking it that way. Also, he was probably close to 300 pounds. Never sat on that couch again and changed rooms at the end of the semester. Edit, for those asking. He paused and me and my friend just turned around and walked out. No clue what he did after we left. Second edit, thank you kind stranger for my first gold. During a night of drinking and partying, I laid my friend down in this room after he passed out outside. When it was to leave, I went back to the room to get him only to be greeted by a couple in full doggy style mode next to him as he slept. And I'm talking pounding it. Once walked in on a coworker giving a manager a blowjob. She was furiously going at it too. He got startled. She stopped. But the ducked up thing was she came up to me later and said that could be you and winked. It was ducked up because all 3 of us were married to other people. I noped out. Got a message from a friend of my then girlfriend. Told me I needed to go to my girlfriend's house. Because she was feeling rather horny. Was odd that her friend sent me this message. But I thought I was getting sex, so I hauled ass over there. She was horny alright. Horny for the 2 dudes betrosting her. I used to work in a prison. It's a British female prison and I was a male officer. At lockup time I was getting everyone back to their cells. Mainly by ineffectively shouting at the women. But slowly they were getting banged up for the night. I walked in this one cell to check and on the floor were 2 women inserting a 2L full Coke bottle into the other. Fat end first. The inserters were about 25 and the receiver 50. I just noped out of there. Came back 5 minutes later and everyone was back in their own cell with just the receiver sat watching TV in her own cell. Not a word was said by me or them. Locked everyone away and never told anyone except my wife when I got home. And she was like, yeah well you can fit a baby out that way, a Coke bottle isn't that much wider. In the late 90s there was an after hours bar I used to go to in Philly. I bartended so it was a good spot to grab a drink after work. It was also run by the mob. You pretty much had to know someone to be allowed in. It was a lesbian bar until midnight. Then they'd close and reopen at 2 AM. So one night I get cut from work early and decide to go over there. It's about 1 AM. The bouncer knows my uncle really well, so when I walk up he says it's no problem. I can go upstairs and get a drink even though they weren't open yet. So I walk upstairs, and when I turn the corner I see the bartender behind the bar. And on the other side of the bar there's a guy chained to a chair. These two mob guys I knew were beating the piss out of this guy. I have no idea why. They weren't asking questions. And there was blood all over him. Bartender turns to me and asks if I want a drink. I was like, nah. You know what? I'll come back after you guys open up. And I turned right around and walked back downstairs Grandpa Simpson style. When I left I told the bouncer he might not want to let people in early tonight. And I rolled. At a party slightly drunk. Walked in on two of my buddies going at it with two nice looking women. My buddies didn't know either of the girls' names. Without hesitation one of the women said, "Come here and I'll suck your dick." I looked at my buddy who was going at it with her. My buddy said, "Well, what are you waiting for?" I accepted but couldn't finish from the sheer shock of what was going on. My buddies did finish and then we all went to dinner. One of my friends ended up having a short relationship with the woman who sucked my dick. I still don't know either of the women's names. Full stop. My younger sister giving my friend a blowjob in the hay barn when we were all around 14-15 years old. Went to a meetup group where the organizer was talking about how he had attempted suicide by slitting his wrists and he had been fascinated by seeing the muscles and tendons, so he took a video of them. He went on to say that he had to delete the video because he was scared it would prevent him from getting custody of his kids. Stopped by an apartment complex to check it out years ago. They had a community area with seats and tables set up in their main office where people can sit and talk. They also had a computer in the corner that could be used by anyone who lived there. At the computer sat a man who was probably in his 70s, and on the screen was an image of a vagina that he zoomed in so it filled the screen. He slowly looked back at me and made eye contact with me. He then slowly turned back and stared at the vagina some more. I backed out of the doorway and drove to the next rental office.